Welcome to the next MakerLibre build video. You have created the base with the motors. You have created the top with these flanged bearings. You have created each of the individual carriages for your Explorer version. Now what we're going to do is attach all of these pieces together and put the belts on, and you'll have your freestanding Kossel printer. So what we do is we grab one of our assembled extrusions and we just slide it in as we've done all of the other parts. Now this one is a little bit trickier because you don't have the ability to wiggle things around as much, but what you can do is you can, inside of this hole, you can spin this nut around so that the flat sides are facing the ends, and that should give us a good lineup. And if we're lucky, these things won't require a lot of work. All right. Then for the bottom screw, we can use our little Allen wrench here to poke it again to get the sides lined up in the T-slot. And once it's lined up, slide it in. Now you don't want it to extend past this edge, because if you set it on a surface, of course it's going to scratch. So just use your finger and push it so that those scratchy metal edges are held deep inside of or at least inside of this square hole on the bottom mount. And then tighten up these two screws. And that extrusion isn't going to go anywhere once you've tightened those two screws. The next thing that you want to do is to grab your carriage top. And again, it's the same process. You're just going to line up your T-slots. You may have to wiggle it a little bit. Then we can rotate the printer back around, do the last one. We're just interested in getting this nut to line up with the sides of the T-slot, and then it'll push right in once we have it lined up properly. Now, a lot of people like to have some room at the top so that they can tighten the belts later by extending things up. I'm going to show you a little trick so that you never have to do that. But first, we're just going to tighten up all three of our carriages, or all three of our top corners, and there we go. Now, I'm only going to show you how to do one belt. You're going to repeat this process on all three of your belts. Okay? So the first thing that you do is you just thread the belt over your bearing, your flanged bearing, and then you're going to take this belt and you're going to force it through these holes so that it makes an S shape. Pull it tight, and then take the other belt and you're going to loop it through around the gear for the motor. Now this belt has been cut to 1.44 millimeters already. 1.25 meters already. Now, here's the interesting part. What we want to do is we're going to take this end of the belt and we're going to bend it so that these teeth are caught onto each other. We'll place our zip tie onto here. And we can tighten that zip tie as much as we want to. I'm not going to over tighten it right now, but you get the idea. Right. And we can force our carriage down a little bit like that. Then what we'll do is the other side of the belt, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to try to match this up a little bit so that they're close to each other. A little bit of a gap. Then we'll take our zip tie. We'll place the zip tie around the edge. Now the teeth of the belt being forced together is going to keep this belt from slipping. Now, if we don't have enough room here, if we don't have a gap, what we can do is we can slide the zip tie and we can try again. So let's give it about another ½ an inch. We'll put a zip tie back on. And what we're looking for is for a little gap between these two belts, or two belt ends. Once we've got it to where there's a bit of a gap, we're actually in a pretty good mood, because we can take another zip tie, we can put it through this hole, then we take it through the other hole, and this is how we can get our tension. And this avoids all of that mess that we have with a screw at the top of the carriage and tightening it and all that kind of stuff. Now, some people don't like to do this. And this, you'll get a lot of people who say, yeah, but this stretches your belts. And that's an absolutely true statement that it could stretch your belts. This is one of the options that you have. You can always replace these zip ties. Now you've got a very, very strong belt. Very, very taut belt. And if you wanted to tighten it even more, you could. Now, the other option for mounting the belts is that you could have the belts wrap around one of the nubs, and then you put the zip ties on top of it to hold the belt there, and then you put more zip ties on the top part here, and that'll also hold your belt. So those are a couple of very good options for you to mount your belts onto your carriages. And as you can see, we have good alignment, and your belt is never, the carriage is never going to go so low that the bottom belt part is going to interfere with your motor. And you have the belt completely free and clear, go all the way up to your end stop. So that concludes our video. Thank you.